Muslim arguments are very laughable to me right now, but to the average Muslim who wants to stay within Islam, Islam is quite convincing. And to them, their arguments are very solid, even if to me they look very ridiculous. Well, Christians also make very solid arguments for their religion, or so they believe. Protestants make solid arguments. Orthodox Christians make solid arguments. Catholics make solid arguments for their beliefs. Sunni Muslims make solid arguments.
By the way, guys, you atheists, you're not immune to this, okay? Don't be like, hey, the Christians, they believe in something already, and instead of, this is what we make fun of them for, right? They, instead of like, I don't know whether it's true, let me look at the evidence and come up with a conclusion, right? The way that works for most people is like, this is my conclusion, let me go find evidence to see why it's true. And so, if you do that, most of the time, you're going to find exactly what you want, okay? If you're like, this is my conclusion, let me now go find evidence. You're going to find things that you're going to think it's evidence. It's not evidence, but you're going to find it, okay? If you don't be like, I don't have a conclusion, let me go see what the evidence shows, then you're more likely to come up to a conclusion that is more in line with what objective reality, okay? So the Christians and the Muslims and everyone else, they already have the destination in mind, and when they all of a sudden come up with these arguments or reasoning or whatever, what they consider evidence, is with that destination, they go and cherry pick whatever they want to highlight. And that's why they come up with these sophisticated methods at pretending like their conclusions were wise, right? But you're doing that right now as well. As we speak right now, okay? You're doing that while listening to me or your other content creators, or when you're reading your book. You already have, so don't think like, oh, I'm an atheist, so I'm immune to it. No, you're doing this, okay? I'm doing this, okay? I do this every goddamn day. It's impossible to get rid of this. You could only reduce the effect of this. It's impossible, unless you're a robot or something, it's impossible to get rid of this, okay? Every time I'm listening to a podcast or I'm reading a book, I already have some conclusions. And when somebody says something I disagree with, it's more likely for me, my brain to go like, that was stupid, instead of reevaluating every single position unbiasedly every single time. I mean, technically, my brain will be, nobody can do that. You're shut down. Like, you become mentally exhausted if you do that starting from a clean slate every time you hear a new claim. You're not going to be able to do that. Nobody could do that, okay? So you are going to be biased, and you are going to judge things from a biased perspective based on the conclusions that you already have. The challenge is to reduce that bias as much as you can, and sometimes, I don't know, once every month or something, or once every year at least, try to be like, wipe everything clean and see like, okay, let me see if I could reconstruct all my ideas from the ground up. If I didn't have these conclusions, am I able to reconstruct? Or don't even reconstruct, because if you say reconstruct, then you're attempting to go to the same conclusions that you had before. What you have to do is like construct something new, regardless of whether it's going to be similar to what I believed in or not, right? So let's say you have a belief system now that's like, okay, I believe in regulated capitalism, I believe this, I believe in humanism, I believe in these enlightenment values. These enlightenment values could do some improvement, I guess. It wasn't very well defined by the founders. So you have like a castle, right? And they look at it like, oh, okay, I'm happy with this. This is pretty good. I think this is represents reality. And I'm saying, at least once in every year, this castle, just tear it apart. Just go bulldoze it, just destroy the whole thing. Just like, okay? And then you look at just the ashes, burn your castle down and look at the ashes. I'm like, okay, I'm going to reconstruct this entire thing from, not reconstruct, just construct a castle from the entire thing from ground up, using evidence with no bias. Again, you're gonna think you're gonna have no bias, but you're gonna have bias. And you just are like, I'm gonna try to construct this whole thing with no bias, and then once it's built, see if it resembles the previous castle, or is it something very different. Okay, and if it resembles it too much, then you have to be worried. Like, if it resembles the previous castle too much, then you have to be like, I probably used a lot of bias. I was probably too attached to my previous conclusions, and that's why these two castles look too similar, right? Because you cannot be that good at recognizing objective reality for your castle to be a mirror image of the castle before, right? Because that's giving yourself too much credit. Like, oh yeah, my belief system was so perfectly matched up ratio of reality that if I do this over and over again, I'm going to come up to the same conclusion on everything every time. Like, no, you're not that good. You're not that good. Okay, there's no way you're that good. So you're just being biased.
Shia Muslims make very
Guys, when you tag me and you're recommending other videos to me, or you're asking me questions that is not relevant to this, I get really upset with you guys, because I'm trying to look at the people who are tagging me so I could address as many of them as possible. And you guys, like, instead of like keeping us relevant to this video, you're like, oh, like, I already tell everybody, if you want to have video recommendations, we have our Discord server and we have a video recommendation channel. I consider them if you post them there, right? Go to the Discord and recommend stuff there if you want, okay? I take a look over there. If it's relevant, if it's short, if it's interesting, and if it's not too old, then I will consider it, okay? But come on, how many times I have to tell you guys, this is not where you would recommend videos to me. This is when you, and when you tag me, then if I see that it's something that is not very relevant to what we're talking about, then it's going to make me miss the other people who are asking something more interesting. It needs to be, your comments need to be about something. Oh, Apostle Prophet is in the house? I'm not seeing it. Oh, yay! Apostle Prophet is here. What an honor. I'm going to send the link to Apostle Prophet, but no pressure for him to, no pressure, apostate. Do not need to show up, but just in case he decides to show up, I'm going to send the link. Okay. Continue with the video.
convincing arguments as they believe.
Guys, do not say yay if you're going to join. You're pressuring him too much, okay? He's a baby, he has a new baby. Oh, just congratulate him for his new baby in the live chat, okay? He has a lot of things on his hands, so don't pressure him. Don't be like, oh, please join, okay? Don't do that. Don't pressure the prophet.
Hindus make solid arguments, Jews make solid arguments. As long as you want to justify your beliefs, you will find solid arguments.